Hello, greetings from Raleigh, North Carolina. My name is Rob Coyle. I'm the Director of Sales at PCX Corporation, and I am the volunteer lead of the Modular Data Center subgroup underneath Data Center Facility. And our discussion today is what defines a modular data center? And really, this is a question that I pose to the community, and we need your help answering. This discussion was originally meant to be an open discussion. Considering that we've shifted to a virtual conference, I think the outline and the content here will still be helpful. And at the end of the session, we can do a Q&A, but it'll also give you a better idea of what we're trying to accomplish during our monthly calls and meetings and the next steps for the group. So the outline I'll go over with you today is a discussion of the mission of the group, the goals of the group and our charter, current status of the Modular Data Center group, recent submissions, goals of this discussion, and then the questions to prompt discussion, which I'm hoping at the end of this we'll cover in a Q&A and then continue on into further discussions. So for this discussion, we want everyone to feel like they can share thoughts or ask questions. Our goal is to leverage the community and focus on the topics of modular data centers. And then we'd like to leave with the direction for the upcoming modular data center go-to meeting. The goals of the data center facility modular data center group is the OCP data center facility project will develop an open source modular data center specification to support the OCP hardware and contribute it to the OCP community. The collaborative specification will include design files and reference architectures. Multiple solution providers can develop and offer an OCP accepted product to the market from the hardware specification. The project will provide the capability for OCP hardware users to leverage the inherent advantages of modular data center advantages in efficiency and scalability. So it's right out of our charter. It's what we aim to do. We've taken some great steps in that direction. There are two specifications, one for a 90 kW and one for a 300 kW modular data center. There are now products available for both those specifications, but we want to evolve it and really better understand the advantages of OCP hardware and a modular data center. And when you leverage both of those things together, what can they create? So here's where you can find more of the information. If you go to the OCP the OCP website, go down to data center facility for the projects, and then you can find the Wikipedia page and the charter. These are the initial in-scope coverage of the modular data center sub-project is described in the following layers, categories of data center technologies. So essentially, level one, starting at the bottom and working up, is universal form factor OCP modular data center for standards. So making sure that all the hardware, OCP servers, switches, are components that are compatible within a modular data center. Level two, modular built devices for supporting systems for cooling, power, and monitoring environments as monitor operation centrals. So essentially, can we develop systems and products that can support a traditional data center or larger infrastructure with a modular approach? We've not done that. And then level three, which is currently out of scope, technologies for the reuse of energy from the modular data center as district heating, greenhouses, swimming, etc. Heat recovery, other things we can do. But really, we're still largely in level one, and then we're exploring the area of level two. So how does this fit within the OCP community and the OCP ecosystem? And how does modular data center align with the tenets of OCP? And I think it's astonishing that how closely the goals and the inherent goals of anybody who's in the proliferation of modular data centers or modular construction falls in line very well. So efficiency. Prefabricated modules allow for the manufacturing and development of efficient compute, minimizing the amount of work and waste on site. The base design of this module is in row to reduce stranded capacity with hot aisle containment. And that's both specifications currently, the 90 kW and the 300 kW. Scalability. The current module designs for the data center scale well for any requirement. Customers who look for pay-as-gross solutions, additional modules are easily added. The two specifications we have are a standalone 90 kW that's not expandable, but you could replicate the expansion of that. And the 300 kW specification and design is actually scalable in that you would add on additional modules to expand the interior space. Openness. The specification allows multiple vendors to bid on the same concept, giving users greater choice and supply chain redundancy. This has been a challenge in the modular community. Most historically, the modular community has been driven by, large equipment manufacturers typically. And they all have their own approach and proprietary nature of the way they approach the market for good reason. But it kept the modular designs very specific to that manufacturer. We're hoping that leading with the modular solution and applying the equipment manufacturer and the specifications of open hardware allows this to, these silos to be broken down. The impact. This effort is the industry's first attempt to standardize how prefabricated modular data centers are described. If adopted and further developed, it will vastly improve the efficiency in which customers and vendors can specify modular data centers. There's a lack of understanding from users and purchasers of modular data centers of really what's included, what should their expectations be, what are the offerings in the marketplace, and that's very limited. So to do this and share this gives people a lot more options and allow them to implement the solutions. So the goals of this discussion are to explore the current market needs, lessons learned when using modular data centers, and design and define the next focus of this group. Evolve current design, create a new spec, subgroup partnerships, perhaps with edge or advanced cooling solutions. These are the areas we need to discuss next to continue to evolve this group. And these are kind of the questions that I'd like to propose to the community to understand better who's participating in our community today. And if you're interested in joining us, these are the questions we're going to start to ask. And if you have an opinion or a contribution you'd like to make, we really welcome it. So we want to know who's installed, operated, and used modular data centers. What are the expectations that a modular data center can provide if you haven't used one? Or you have used one? What's the biggest challenge facing the data center market right now that modular data centers could solve? Is it speed to market, efficiency? What are things that essentially traditional construction of a data center has challenges with that a modular data center could fix? What's the biggest challenge limiting the use of a modular data center? Is it regulatory? Is it concerns about how to operate one? Is it right sizing, purchasing the right amount of capacity? And really we want to ask this group to advance modular data center with us. We're still in very early stages. We've laid some great groundwork. Swedish Modules, Schneider Electric, and PCX have made contributions that have really gotten this off the ground. And so now we want to take it to the next level and not just understand what it is and that it has a place here in the OCP, but what more can it do with the help of OCP hardware and other OCP members. So the best way to join is to join the mailing list, and it's at Groups.io, and I'll share the links here at the end. But here's how you find the group. You can go to Groups.io. You can look for OCP Modular Data Center at ocp-all.groups.io. and you can join here. You scroll down on the page, you actually add to this group. It'll show the message history below. This is also where you'll log in if you want to make changes to how many alerts you get. You'll enter your email address here, and if you haven't joined a mailing list like this before, you'll get alerts for any communication. Essentially, I think is the default. You can make those settings here. Here's the hyperlink to get to it. Really, the next areas we're looking at is cooling solutions, rack layout, UPS solutions, and more. We're adopting traditional cooling solutions for application in a modular data center, be it in-row cooling, rear door heat exchangers, possibly even wall-mounted cooling units if the heat load's not so big. The rack layout, right now in both the solutions, they're adoptable for a traditional rack and OCP hardware, but can we use less room? Can we make a smaller footprint with a OCP rack? We have done so in a traditional data center environment. What can we do when footprint is more critical in a modular data center? UPS solutions are, what's the best approach here? Does it matter on size? Is a central UPS the right way? Are we backing up everything to an N+1 redundancy? Or maybe that's not necessary depending on what the application is. And I'm certain there's more areas that the community is closer in tune with that could bring to the table about solutions for a modular data center that could really help. Initially, our next meeting was supposed to be April 1st, April Fool's Day. And since the Global Summit moved to the virtual and the dates have changed, it will be the first Wednesday of the month following the summit. I really hope some of these questions have sparked your interest, or if you're currently a member of our group and you weren't aware that those are the things we need or next steps to get this thing going, it's really opened the community to help us drive, but we need to put some things in order and put some goals on paper so that we can start heading towards them. I look forward to speaking with you on our next call.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into the presentation. I am live now. I haven't seen any questions come through here on the chat panel. But if anybody has anything, feedback on the direction we're headed or additional questions about the OCP Modular Data Center group or anything related to modular data centers, feel free to drop them here in the chat box or the Q&A. Brevin dropped a chat in there, so I will give a shout out to Brevin for typing in a hello there. I'll stay online for a few more minutes here and see if anything comes up. I hope everybody's enjoying the virtual summit, and it is certainly unique. But I will say that of all the virtual things I've had to do over the last couple months here, that this has been fantastic, and I've been able to join a lot of sessions that in a traditional summit where they're live, I wouldn't have been able to physically move from room to room that quickly, or just sneak into one of the meetings and not feel totally committed to stay the duration, but I can find out what's going on and listen in. So I've enjoyed it. Brevin asks, who are the current players involved in the modular data center community? We have there's a lot of people attending the calls. We have companies, Schneider Electric involved in submitting the specification. and Swedish modules as well with specification and a design contribution. As I mentioned, PCX submitted a standalone 90 kW modular data center design solution that you're welcome to go to the OCP website and use it, pick it apart. Feel free to access all that information. And we have, I believe, Tencent has expressed interest. We also have the feedback I've gotten from just our most recent call is that we had very good attendance and more new players than ever joining the call. So I'm very excited for our next discussion, which, looking at the calendar, appears to be on June 3rd, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time Zone. So it is open for anybody to join, and we welcome you. Brevin chimed in here again. Tencent will be presenting later today on their modular data centers as well, which I'm very interested to see that. Their modular approach is a little different than the two design submissions we have right now, with I would say actually a closer, more detail on the technical side to the server and the environment of the server from an interior modular application. And one of the big values there is their monitoring system. I've said in a presentation on that, and it's very impressive. Now I'm jumping tabs here. Mark Danzy, would the holistic cooling control system from the Bowden project be useful for incorporating into a modular data center all-in-one design? Potentially. I think it could be. I'm just thinking hypothetically here, but yes, I certainly think there's an opportunity for that. I'm actually going to make a note of that for, other than the typing, this is somewhat of a one-way Q&A here. But I'd like to add that to our discussion on the 3rd in a couple weeks. And as we're very much interested in seeing how other OCP hardware solutions could be applied to the modular data center. And is it beneficial, and exploring if it's beneficial or if it's possibly even amplified in a modular data center. If you're interested in more on our 90 kW modular data center, I have, following this presentation, I have my our design package submission, which is not just about the 90 kW modular data center design package, but also the process that we went through to submit a design. And so if you're understanding how that process works, I've shared a little bit of what we went through, and hopefully that'll give you some information. So thank you very much for joining, and enjoy the rest of the summit.